Welcome to another episode with your chapter crush, sweetheart. This is Everblue Presents When You're Enough, a chapter crush, sweetheart series. Bronwyn, chapter 27. Home is any four walls that enclose the right person. Helen Rowland. Not 10 minutes later, we're pulling off of a highway in the mountains high above Annecy and crossing either our third or fourth crystal clear river, which Michel says is named Fear. I've mostly calmed myself from the ambush earlier by absorbing the gorgeous surroundings. Unfortunately, the higher we climb, the more gray everything becomes, as if we're entering a cloud. But as we cross what appear to be fields, the clouds part, revealing the mountains standing just above us. We're actually in a valley of a sort, with houses or chalets scattered here and there. There's very little in the way of stores, and I only saw one or two restaurants. But the views. It feels like stepping into the opening scene of The Sound of Music. You know, if it took place in France. But still, the hills are alive. As I gaze around in amazement, the chatter in the front seat comes to an end, causing me to look up as Michel glances at me. Wow, I mouth, grinning as I shake my head in amazement. He beams with pride as he turns to look out of the window. When we turn up a narrow, tree-lined lane a minute later, I see a house with green window frames sitting at the top of the hill, and I automatically know it's his. He warned me that it isn't a large house, and he's right. What he hadn't told me was how adorable it is. It's a small two-story house, the bottom half made of cement and painted white, and the top half fitted with dark wood logs. Empty planter boxes hang from the balcony on the face of the house, and I can just imagine how idyllic it will look in spring and summer when it's lined with flowers. When we turn into the short driveway, Adrien kills the engine and looks at Michel, silently nodding towards the house. Adrien is completely knocked out and softly snoring, but as I undo my seatbelt and reach to undo hers, Michel turns around. "Would you like a tour first, Winnie?" Adrien can bring Dory to Mama and Papa's, and we can join them after. I smile excitedly. "Oh, yes, please! It's so adorable. I can't wait to see inside." Michel nods, and as we open our doors to get out, I'm hit with a sense of belonging. I know I've never been here before, but it feels familiar, as if I'm coming home. The air is so fresh and smells green, like sweet grass and herbs, with the faint hint of smoke. Looking at the few houses I can see sprinkled on the nearby hill, nearly every one of them has a curl of smoke ascending from a chimney. Nearby, trees ascend into the mountains above us, and maybe it's my imagination, but it looks like a small waterfall is trickling from one of the peaks. Looking towards the valley we just came from, there's nothing but the river winding through the hills, mountains, and homes. I must look like a crazy person spinning around, taking it all in and huffing the air like an addict. Yet, as I face Michel and our eyes meet, I'm just full of awe that a place like this exists. I don't think I would ever leave, Mishu. This is just breathtaking. He nods towards the house with a tight smile. "Ready to see inside?" My own smile is swift as I exclaim, "More than you know." Walking around the car, we approach the stone steps on the side of the house that lead up to the first floor. Michel holds out a hand as he says, "Watch your step." Taking his hand, I let him lead me to the modest front door, painted the same sage green as the window frames. Turning to point to a larger house sitting on the next hill, he smiles. "That's Mama and Papa's house. That's where I grew up." "Wow," I nod. Dory must love being so close to her grandparents. "It's a fight to get her home some days," he admits, pushing his sunglasses atop his head. Then pulling out a key, Michel puts it in the lock before nervously looking back at me. It's a modest home, but you're welcome here." I smile reassuringly as I squeeze his hand. If you're trying to keep me from falling in love with it, I think you may have already lost that battle. He ducks his head, but I still see the smile as he steps inside. The little stone and sage entryway has a cubby for hanging coats, with a small bench on one side and a washer and dryer on the other. He helps me out of my jacket and hangs it with his on a peg, but as he takes off his boots and I bend down, unzipping my brown booties, he holds up a hand. "Just give me a moment." I sit down on the bench as he disappears through another green door with smaller glass panes on the top half. Some sort of cream-colored curtain hangs on the other side, so I'm not able to see inside until the door flies open when he returns. His ears are red, and he's refusing to make eye contact. But when he hands me a thick pair of socks, I gratefully accept and slip them on. Welcome in, he says as I step up onto the herringbone-patterned wood floor. Surprisingly, the floor is as warm as the blast of woodsy air that hits as soon as I step inside. Straight ahead, a door sits open to an all-white, full bathroom with a little window above the toilet. To the right, there are 3 doors, with one opening to what appears to be Dorian's yellow and white-themed bedroom. Those are her favorite colors, so it makes sense. The last door opens to reveal another modest-sized guest room. The bed and armchair are littered with clothes and are only rivaled by more piles of clothing on the floor. Adrien is living here for the year that Michel is away, and he's made himself quite at home. Good-sized rooms, I comment as Michel nods. Both rooms are smaller than any of the bedrooms in my apartment, including the music room, but they're perfectly large enough for a home. I dare say they're larger than rooms found in typical New York City apartments. Turning past the entryway puts us at a door leading to a set of descending stairs on the left and an L-shaped kitchen on the right. From the backsplash all the way up to the ceiling, large, natural-colored stones clad the walls, while a cream quartz countertop tops the sage green cabinets and large island. The massive stainless steel sink and appliances seem fitting for someone who loves to cook as much as Michel does. A small cast-iron wood-burning stove sits between the great room and the kitchen, and I don't have to wonder if it ever gets used in such a modern space since it's currently in use. The descending stairs lead to a small home gym, half bath, and storage, or so I'm told as we step into the generous-sized pantry beside it. I chuckle as Michel grumbles about the size of the rats that must have gotten in to leave such empty shelves. Stepping into the great room finally brings us out from under the loft. High, wood beam-lined ceilings and an abundance of light pouring in through the windows give the large room an open and airy feel. An upholstered banquette in the corner of the dining area sits just behind an oval dining table for 8 people. Despite feeling as if I should still be asleep, excitement at finally being in Michel's space means I'm humming and nodding at the appropriate intervals in awe of what he accomplished on his own. Several deep-seated gray couches, armchairs, and wood tables decorate the rest of the space. All buried under so many blankets and pillows, I'm beginning to wonder if they have pillow fort contests. These all face the windows and a set of double doors that lead to a covered tiled balcony. I'm distracted from asking where it goes when I see Adrien pulling away in the SUV below. As I follow Michel up the stairs at the far end of the great room, I note all the pictures of Dorian as a baby and all her stages of growth. This is such a good picture of you two, I smile, pausing on the landing to get a closer look. It must have been taken earlier this year since Dory is still wearing the pink sneakers from the photo. They're both looking into the camera, smiling happily, and I immediately wish I could bring the picture home with us. At the top of the stairs, we're greeted by a carpeted loft, which houses more toys than I've ever seen. Doll houses, kitchen sets, bears, Legos. If it's marketed to children, it's there. And now I know that Dorian's style has seriously been cramped by her move. If I were Dory, I would have staged a coup. There's no way she wanted to leave. Michel chuckles. From what I heard, the meltdown was very serious indeed. I shake my head, staring at him in wonderment. I forgive your meltdown, too, from when you first arrived. I would not be okay trading all of this for New York City. His smile is a little sad when he quietly says, It wasn't easy, but I would do it again for Dorian. She's definitely worth it. I smile in return. We continue the tour, turning right into a small alcove with just 2 doors. The one on the right reveals a small storage room with the water heater. Michel only hesitates a moment, taking a deep breath and pushing open the last door. On this level, the steep pitched roof gives the cozy room height and character. The same natural wood planks that run through the rest of the home line the floor of the master bedroom. It's smaller than the other rooms, but it's uncluttered and feels cozy. Morning light streaming in through the white sheers of the floor-to-ceiling window and balcony bathes the room in a warm glow. It illuminates the white and beige throw rugs, the pretty wood nightstands and headboard of the queen-sized bed, and the whitish gray flowers that appear to have been recently knocked off the fur throw to the floor and hastily swept under the bed. That must be where the floral scent is coming from. A glance at Michel reveals he's standing in the doorway, looking everywhere except at me. It's a safe bet the flowers weren't his idea. Apparently, someone in his family is waging a covert battle behind the scenes to give him a romantic welcome home. Crossing to the door on the far side of the bed, I find a pretty beige stone bathroom with slate tile, a stand-up shower, and under a small window, a deep tiled-in tub. Very nice, but no, that's not helpful. I close it and try the other door, and wow! The master closet is nearly as big as the bathroom. I'm guessing Michel wanted to spoil his model ex-wife. It's gorgeous, but it isn't carpeted. I heave a sigh before noticing the sliding doors to the balcony. Rushing to it, I unlock and slide it open. That view is breathtaking. There's nothing between me and that view except, well, this wall of windows. It seems this isn't a balcony, or if it is, it's been completely closed in. With skylights at the eaves over the windows, it gives the small space a greenhouse feel, both bright and warm. I wonder if Michel uses the space for gardening as well. I slowly step back inside, noting how tightly his arms are folded across his chest. Mishu, I love your house. Really, if I could shrink it and bring it back to the States with me, I would. He scuffs his foot on the floor, looking truly abashed as he rubs his neck. Thank you, Vinny. That means a lot to me. I'm just really curious because, well, I remember we're sharing the room, but, um, there's no space for, well, unless you have an abundance of blankets for your closet floor, or you plan to sleep under the bed, there's no space for you to sleep on the floor. Rubbing the back of his head, he looks sheepishly around the room. I could sleep in the bathtub. I chuckle, holding my hands in front of my mouth. Well, even if you had the world's biggest bathtub, I would say that's a terrible idea, especially for 2 weeks. So, yeah. I think we already know how this ends, but why do you only have queen-sized bed, and how are we both going to fit on it? He looks at me dumbfounded. Well, although a king bed could technically fit, I was the only one here. It didn't make sense to have a larger bed taking up space for me alone. I rub an eye, pursing my lips. So, well, okay, we have no other choice. But I have my scarf and bonnet this time. We're going to keep our clothes on, and it's going to be fine. Michelle looks at the bed dubiously. Do you really think it will be alright? You made a good point about the bed being too small. A strangled sound escapes my throat as I close my eyes. Yeah, we'll be fine. And hey, you were worried about us being comfortable with appearing lovey-dovey with your family after sleeping in that. I think we'll be pretty used to each other. So, bonus, right? He offers a tight smile. I'm sorry, Winnie. I should have thought of the size of the bed and made other arrangements. With an extra house guest and the house already being too small, I should have realized. I shake my head. Look, I'm being perfectly earnest here. I love the house. It's the perfect size, it's gorgeous, and so thoughtfully laid out. There's nothing wrong with the house. The gold of his eyes light up in the morning sun as his smile broadens. It means a lot to me that you feel this way. It took me a year to design it and 3 to get it built with all the excavation that had to be done for the geothermal heat pumps. Wait, I frown in confusion. Are you saying you built this house? He nods, his brows puckering. I thought I explained that was the reason I have the mortgage. No, I stare in surprise. You told me you took out a mortgage for the house, but I had no idea you designed and built it. When you said it was finished a little over a year ago, I thought you meant renovations. With a sigh, he crosses his arms and looks at the floor. I thought, well, at the time the three of us were living in Annecy, Yvette was struggling, as she had been since Torpéan was born, but she took more and more jobs away from home. At least that's what she told me at the time. So I thought, perhaps it was the noise of town. Perhaps the convenient access to things that she was supposed to be avoiding. Maybe if we could settle somewhere away from distractions. He rocks back on his heels as he softly shakes his head. I approached my parents to ask them to sell me a piece of their land. They wanted to gift it, but for tax purposes it had to be a sale. Once that was complete, I moved forward with figuring out how best to use the land. Surveying, drafting, it all took time. By the time I got the keys in my hand, Torian and I had gone through so much with Yvette. Yet, I still thought I should give it one more try. A sinking feeling in my stomach has me crossing the stand in front of him, but he doesn't look up. As he stares at a point on the floor, his words come out in short, angry bursts. When she finally came home between jobs, I told her I had a surprise for her. She didn't believe me, but as I drove closer and closer to my parents' house, the more agitated she became. And when we pulled into the driveway, Michel grits his teeth, breathing through his nose as he tries to calm himself. When we pulled in, she wouldn't get out of the car, Winnie. I begged her. I showed her the keys. I pulled up the deed on my phone. I showed her the mortgage payments. Nothing mattered. She screamed abuses at me about my family never caring about her, about living in a tiny apartment and now being forced to live in a tiny shoebox in the backwoods. He looks up at the ceiling, his voice flat as he continues. We had already been through counseling, checking her in and out of rehab, everything, but it didn't matter. She wasn't interested in me, in this life. She had outgrown her need for me, so she rejected all of it. She preferred money to taking the house and the divorce settlement, and I'm still not sure why she wanted Dorothy when it's so hard for her to connect. She hasn't called once since leaving. He pauses, his body shaking, and when I lay a hand on his arm, he looks down at me, and I realize it isn't anger, but sadness that fills his eyes. His face crumples as he drops to the floor, trying to breathe through the tears. I was just trying to build a home. I go right down with him, pulling him to my chest and cradling him as much as I can. Tears roll down my own cheeks at the realization that he isn't sad over Yvette. He's grieving what he wanted most and what was ultimately denied him, a family to fill this home, to love and care for. While I whisper reassurances that it isn't over, that he's still here, another part of me realizes he's also crying because he still badly wants it, even if he can't see how to get there. As much as he'd hate to admit it, he's still clinging to the hope, nearly as tightly as he's clinging to my waist right now. So I pray that Michelle figures it out, that he's strong enough to reach for it when he finds it. And I also pray to be strong enough to let him go when he does.